Hey, this is Dave with Rough Notes Magazine. We're all about helping agents and brokers thrive, and we're impressed with what you're doing. Can we feature you and your team on our front cover?
Jackson, tell me the feeling you had when you first heard that your agency was going to be on the front cover of Rough Notes Magazine.
Yeah, it's probably like everybody else, right? Honored, surprised, grateful. For me, I think it had a little bit of a different impact too, because, I've only been in the business 6 years. So obviously in those 6 years, I've, picked up on reading rough notes and learning lessons from them. But for me, it was actually really cool because I was actually able to call my dad, who's the CEO and founder of our agency, and to tell him. So, I feel like most people like Dave gets the honor of like telling them about it. I had that honor of sharing the message as well. My dad, he started the agency 25 years ago from scratch. And so rough notes and just the things he had to learn over time, rough notes was a big help to him in that. And he's seen the cover agencies for years now. And to be able to tell him like, hey, we're going to be on the cover. It's a pretty special honor that I think most sons probably don't get for their dads. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool, man. I love how you brought that aspect into it. So it's unbelievable for the agency. It's cool that you're getting the call and no better piece of information you want to deliver to dad. That's awesome. And dad is a cool guy because we know that already because his first name is Jason, one of the best names out there ever. And so I love that. But hey, so Jackson, I've read the notes. I've kind of read about who you guys are and what you guys do. And there's no doubt you guys represent exactly what the front cover is. And kudos to you on that. But give us in that minute, in that 2 minutes, take us where this agency started and how you're sitting here right in front of us. Give us that.
Yeah. So, my dad was the weird little kid who grew up wanting to be in insurance. So my grandpa's been with a captive. Yeah. My grandpa's been a captive agent for 50 plus years at this point. And somehow my dad grew up and just saw that lifestyle and was like, hey, I want to go into insurance. So I know most of us, like me included, like I didn't want to be in insurance. I just happened to fall into the industry. My dad was not that person. So 1999, he starts up with a captive. And in 2000, he gets the opportunity to start an independent agency for a bank holding company. The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act passed in 2000. Banks could own agencies. And there's a guy with little small town banks up near Dallas, Texas, and he started an agency from scratch. And that's the origin story. So he started as the agent, the account manager, the administrative assistant, the janitor. Like he did it all right at the very beginning, like most people do when they start from scratch. But unlike most people, he had a big vision and dream. And so over the course of the last 25 years, really the first 8 years is kind of the foundation. It's like that mom and pop agency that dad built for himself, right? And he took it and he acquired another agency. He took from one location to 2 to 5 and just began growing it through, organic producers as well as, acquisitions, back in the early 2000s. In 2008 to 2012, that was really the foundation for the company. He began to invest, unlike a lot of agencies, in things like technology department and accounting department and bringing some of those outside resources in to make his life easier, right? As the owner of an agency, you hate doing all those extra things. And so he brought people in to take care of those. And then really in 2020 is kind of when we decided, hey, you know what, we want to grow. We want to take all these lessons we've learned and begin, scaling as an agency. And that's been what we're doing. So, from the origin story of him as the only person in the agency to where we are right now, 25 years later, it's pretty incredible.
And so you didn't want to be in it, just like there's a lot of agency owners out there right now. They've got kids that are, I don't want to be in it. She doesn't want to be in it. And we were those people. You were those people. What made you, you told me what dad did with grandpa, why he thought so. Well, was it similar or what was your reasons?
Yeah, my reason was a little bit different. So, I grew up around the agency, saw most of the things about it, just didn't really understand what it was as a business, which is why I think most people don't want to get into it. They don't understand really what insurance is. It's not one of those industries that you go to school for, right? It's not like being an attorney or a doctor. So I actually wanted to be an attorney. And I went to Texas A&M. I graduated, went there for 2 years. And basically, I got out of school early. And because I got out of school early, I had a year break between, school and then going to law school. And dad said, well, hey, why don't you come sell some insurance in the business? And so like most people, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with getting to know people, the relationships I was able to build, playing golf a lot. That was a lot of fun as a producer. And so, just the challenge of it being in a sales role. And that's how I fell into the business. And then I remember a very distinct lunch. We were eating. I wasn't sure if I was going to go to law school yet. And I wanted to go still, but I was really enjoying the insurance business. And Dad looked at me. He said, "Hey, you can always hire an attorney." And that was kind of the light bulb in my mind where I was like, you know what, let's commit to this business. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Family business and the insurance business is amazing.
You can always hire an attorney. That's exactly right. That's great. That's awesome. And so I read it over and over. I think it comes through. It's what is it? It's God, family, country. You guys, I saw that a lot. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think in 2020 when we were beginning to grow, like the hardest part about growing is the people you're bringing on. Do they have the same value set that you do? Do they see business the same way that you do? Do they want to take care of clients the same way that you do? Right. And so we had to come up with something that described like the people that worked here, the people that we wanted to attract. And really what it came down to is we want people who view the world in the same way. Right. Like I tell people all the time, when you work here, work is not your most important priority in life. That's just straight up. That's what it has to be to work here. But because of that, we can all understand, hey, there's times where I got to take care of my family. There's times where we're going to do things because we're being good citizens to our local community or to our country that maybe are more important than work. But when you get to work, because those priorities above it are already determined, you can be the best at what you do, because everything you say, every idea that we have is not coming from the idea of like, I care more about this than Jason does. The idea is we both already agree on the more important things, but when we get here, let's be the best at what we do. And so it really became like our rallying cry, if you will, for the type of people that we wanted to bring into the organization. So that way it made business easy. Like I have this phrase I always say, like, it's really easy to make money, but it's hard to do it with people that you enjoy. And so this was our way of saying we want to work with people that we enjoy first, people that we like first. And if we do that, then we can grow a lot and still keep our culture because they're the right kind of people.
This word culture is something that has been thrown around, I think, for at least the last 20, 25 years. People's eyes used to roll back into their head and they'd be like, oh God, this culture thing. But to be honest with you, as an agency owner now of 15 years, and I think of even in your time, you've seen this, it's the most important thing. Because people are the most important thing of the business, and the culture of the business, how we're all going to act, how we're all going to think, how we're all going to process things needs to be in that. That's what makes up a culture, right? And I read that a lot in your stuff, and it goes hand in hand now with this God, family, country thing there. What do you say about culture? I can't say that enough, that I think that that's a lot of your success.
I would agree with you. Again, when you scale, people always look at processes as the most important thing. But the problem a lot of times when people aren't adhering to a process is because they don't understand the why behind it, right? And that why is the culture. It's the philosophy behind the reason that we call clients at renewal, the feeling that we're trying to make them have, the way that we interact with teammates, and the values that we hold to, in all of our relationships, whether it's a carrier partnership or whether it's with another person on our team. It's super important. And I can tell you this, this is the thing about our agency. We've always invested to look bigger than we are in terms of like our leadership team, if you will. So a few years back, we actually created a position, the director of culture. And at the time, everybody was like, well, what does that mean? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I was like, look, it's pretty simple. Like the CFO is running around. He has a lot of responsibilities. I have a lot of responsibilities. The COO has responsibilities. Like we all have a lot of things going on. And because of that, sometimes we miss those little moments where a culture goes from good to great. And so when we hired that person, it was actually my sister-in-law to keep it within the family business thing. But she said, hey, what's my job? I said, your job is to do all of the little things that nobody else has time to do in their day. But it's the difference between having a good culture and a great culture. It's that intentionality that you were saying behind the philosophy of why we do what we do. And so, it started with little things like sending flowers, when people have babies, or maybe they're in the hospital, a health issue that came up, or doing fun events to get to know each other and building that camaraderie. But then it's really transitioned into just this whole idea and the identity of how we go about our business and the way that we think about the way we want to treat our clients and our communities.
Man, you got me going there. I love that, because I hear people use these, chief cultural, but what would you say they were?
Director of culture.
Director of culture. But no one's ever been able to pin it and say, here's what it is. And I figured that as an agency owner, if I hired something like that, that would probably morph into a different position than the way that I probably initially saw it. And so, Where would someone get training on something like that? You guys may have probably trained her yourself and you just learned through trial and error a lot. But like I think of there's just a book around here. Here it is. One of the things it's the best version possible. Roger Sidkins and Brent Kelly. Do you know Brent Kelly? Do you,
Yep.
Roger, you know them? And they talk along the culture. Our culture is the way we act, the way we think. I can't really remember. Brent did a thing for us at BrainShare one time. I can't remember that. It sounds like you guys follow along those lines.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as how we did it, it was a lot of self-training, but I think the book thing is interesting. About 18 months ago, that was probably one of the biggest changes we made in the agency was, our leadership team. We have a book we read quarterly together and we discuss it at our quarterly offsite. And, that has been the biggest driver of changing the way that we think. It helps to pinpoint ideas. It helps to create new ones. And so I think the way that the culture position specifically was trained was we had a lot of little things that we wanted to do. We operate on the EOS model. My dad's the visionary and I'm the integrator. And so when you think about it from that perspective, like we're always coming up with these ideas of things that we want to do, but we needed a person who could be the catch-all for these cultural type things.
Yep.
But then when you add the books and the things that you're mentioning there, you're just taking these ideas constantly, refining them and putting them in within your organization. But you got to have somebody that owns that job. And for us, that's what that culture position was about. It was making sure that when people come in, they understand how we think as a business. Because look, I think we're pretty good at what we do. But just because, sometimes you have a track record for it does not make people buy in automatically. It's like a football team. What are they competing for? Well, they're competing for the championship, whatever that is. They have to have some goal in mind for everybody to act the same. Unfortunately, within insurance and within business all the time, we might not have like a championship trophy we're going after because, producers have different standards that they want to hold themselves to or different lifestyles they're trying to create. And account managers, they're just maybe trying to do the best they can. This was our way of saying, look, these are the standards that we want to operate by. And in order to hit these standards, you have to think about things differently than most other people who are competing with, you in your local area.
Wow. Great. Fantastic. Jackson, how old are you?
I'm 28.
Wow, that's even more. Yeah, you are a ball of fire. You've been listening to Dad for a whole long time. You've got a wealth of. So you got out of school and then you got right into this, and you've been here doing this 6 years now.
Yeah, so I started actually as an intern. The last 6 months of college, I started as an intern on the sales side, and then I took over as director of sales January 2020. So that was interesting to be a 21-year-old leading a sales force of people, I don't know, average age 45, 50. And then the world changes with COVID, right? And so we just had to adapt and do the best that we can. And then I took over as agency president in 2022. And my philosophy's always been the same. It's like, look, you're coming into a family business. People are going to assume nepotism, and that's okay. I can't control what people assume, but I can control the impact and the change that they see through my work ethic. And so I tell this story often, but whenever I first came in as a sales director, to gain the trust of the sales force, first thing I did was I went in and I said, look, I got 3 questions today. I want to know what you love about Rollo Insurance, what you hate about Rollo Insurance, and if you were me, what would you change? And man, they had a lot to say about things they would change, right? Because everybody has great ideas about things that they want to make better. We took that and we made a list. And as a team, we began working through it. Hey, you said you wanted this done. Now it's done. It's changed. This is how we're going to do this from now on. And we just fixed issues. And I think if you do that over time, then it doesn't really matter what your last name is, or it doesn't matter how fast you got moved into a position. What matters is, can you make my life better? Can you make my life better for my clients? And if you can answer yes on both of those, like, people will follow you.
Yes, they will. Fantastic, man. This has been great. I mean, just in 14 minutes, I think you've delivered the power punch. I love the cultural position and putting all those things. I think about the fact we have a book club. And I think about we take time and we learn and we break down the book, and we even try to not just go through so many books. It's about breaking that book down as much as we can. But at the end of the day, who's going behind and making sure that those things are constantly being done is key to it. We can sit there and say that we do that, but is it still happening? I love that stuff. That's great, man. That's great. Oh, what's one of the books you guys have read recently that you would throw out there for people?
Yeah, it's probably it's the first one we read, actually, but it was Good to Great. Jim Collins.
Yeah.
I mean, Look, we're a family business, right? So my mom and my dad they're the two owners. They've been around for literally the 25 years of the business. My mom last year stepped down as the CFO, and we had a guy who was waiting and ready to take that position on. But we're a big family, even outside. My little brother's in the business. Like I mentioned, my wife was here for a little while before we had our first kid. My sister-in-law, same thing. So we're a big family business, but it extends beyond people with the last name Rollo. Like everybody who's on our leadership team, everybody who's a teammate here, like they're part of the family. Well, when you have family business, what do you have? A lot of the times you have a lot of strong opinions and you have people who are unafraid to say what they think, right? And because of that, it can come across as argumentative or maybe a debate style. And we looked at that always as kind of maybe one of the negative things to like our leadership style was like, oh man, we argue a lot. But the thing is, when you're family, like you can argue because again, life's more important than work. So when you leave, it doesn't matter what you were arguing about 5 minutes ago about work. You're like, hey, where are we going to go eat tonight? I'm coming over to your house, right? Like there's that bond.
Right.
When we read Good to Great, I think what we realized was what we thought of as maybe a weakness of ours actually was a strength. When you read that book, one of the traits that the great companies had versus the good ones were you could debate a problem. And at the end of the day, there's no politics, there's no feelings that got hurt because look, the reason we're arguing is because we both want to solve this and move forward towards our goals. And it's because we love each other enough as family that we can get past the fact that we're arguing right now for the ultimate good. And so because of that, man, that book was fantastic for us, the right seat on the right bus. And, we have a great team around us. And they've been here for 15 to 20 years, all of them. There's just so much commitment to the organization and to what we're building. But that book, I think, really helped us put some common phrases in place that helped us define maybe some of the challenges we were trying to overcome.
The beauty of books is that it helps us experience something, even though we're not experiencing it, right? And it's not until we experience something that we learn. And so, I mean, Rough Notes listeners, if you really listen to what he's saying and for what we do at our book club, I think you're exactly right, because it can be frustrating when you read the book and then you try to go to your people and you're trying to explain to them and they didn't experience it. You did, and you're just passionate about it. And they're like, yeah, but that is the one thing. We were all on the same page after we started. No pun intended there, but maybe so. We were all on the same page that we all kind of understood that when we're making the decision, hey, remember when Jim was talking about this in the flywheel? I can see how that could play into our perpetuation. You need everybody to understand what Jim was kind of talking about when the flywheel for that to actually be brought into the business. And I think that's exactly what you're saying, Jackson. And I encourage a lot of people. Let's help some of these agents real quick. What does you guys do it every quarter? What'd you say, every half?
Yeah, we do it every quarter. Yep.
And what's that look like? You guys read and then you have 2 or 3 meetings. Let's break that down.
Yeah. So for us, what it actually looks like is we have a quarterly meeting, kind of where we're planning the next quarter, obviously operating on that 13-week system within EOS. And so what we do is during that quarterly meeting, we kick it off with the last book we read. And we pick the books ahead of time. That way they kind of align with what we're working on that quarter and then the following quarter. So this year's all about the client experience, right? So we're reading a lot of books by Disney and Chick-fil-A, Ritz-Carlton, those kinds of brands. And so clearly the concept and the discussion is going to be around like, what do we do well from this? And then what are we not doing well that we need to incorporate within our systems? And so that's kind of how it operates on a quarterly basis. So it's, it's strategy at the highest level, but it's built into a more tactical meeting. And so instead of us just saying, oh yeah, hey Jason, that was a great idea, I'm glad you brought that up, and never talking about it again, it kind of works its way into our projects for the following quarter. Well, how are we going to do that? What does that look like? When do we need to do that? And it helps us to not only just read them and understand them, but begin to put a plan in place to make our business, better.
As we kind of go towards the end of this podcast, let's take advantage for the listeners. Let's take advantage of the fact that you're 28, and let's take advantage of the fact that we have you on here. And we're curious as to the leader of the organization now and future leader to carry it further, and probably many other organizations you're going to start. Jackson, how's AI playing into your thoughts today, as opposed to the way maybe it was thinking about how you were going to lead in 2020? See what I mean? Like, what were you thinking there versus today? How do you think? Taking all the scare out of it, what's in your brain?
Yeah, I think that, look, when you go from whenever I got here, we had 12 offices and 60 people. Right now, we're going to be, by the time this comes out, over 65 offices and over 275 people. We have to find ways to, make our team better constantly. And I think when you're able to use things like AI, the way we look at it is like a tool. It's the same as the internet. It's the same as a computer. It's the same as an iPhone. Like it's just that next evolution of a tool that is going to help us be better for our clients. At the end of the day, what we're looking to do is find ways to get our time back, right? If you ask everybody in insurance, like, what's your biggest complaint? They would say it a bunch of different ways, but what they would end up telling you is, I don't have enough time in the day to do what I really am good at and what I really want to do. And the way I look at AI going forward into the future is it's going to help us harmonize both data and the hardware and the software and all these different things that for so long have been kind of independent of one another. It's going to help us harmonize all of them to give people time back. Because if we can give people time back and we can make them really good at what they're supposed to be doing every day, building client experiences, selling things, solving problems, building relationships, then we are going to be really, really good as an agency. And that's our approach. It's how do we use AI to help us with that? And so I think the way I see it is with an agency of 275 people, we can get the work done of 1,000, where maybe before AI, we could only have gotten the work done of 500 through efficiencies in our processes, right? So it's just another layer on top of great people, great processes, and then now you add great AI in. What can it do for us from a scale perspective? I think there's a lot of things that it can help us with.
It's one thing that you said is so true. I just emphatically agree with you. It's a tool. You said it. Very few times do people say that, Jackson. And man, I love hearing that. People just kind of think, what if you think about it, if it's truly a tool, which we know it to be, what do tools do? They enhance or they take place the skills of what a human could do. And every time that happens, humans just evolve to something that is more higher level until technology catches up there. And I think to just think that all of a sudden we're at this cliff to where, we're going to go away to no people. I think there will be changes in the amount of people, but I love what you said. And please, Rough Note listeners, hit the 15-second back a couple times and listen to what Jackson said. Because Jackson, I love how you said we have 275 people. And there's people listening that were saying, okay, after AI, he'll probably be down to 75 doing the same. No, Jackson's thought was, oh no, we're going to keep the 275, but we're going to be doing the work of 1,000 rather than taking it away the other way and assuming that there would be loss. Why not assume the efficiencies to a gain and assume that you would grow more with less people rather than not growing at all and getting rid of people? So I think, does that make sense, Jackson? Because that's the way I heard from you. And that was a really cool mental way for you to look at that. That's like almost the glass is half full type of thing, Yeah,
I think it is. And I think we've always been growth minded. I think as an agency, I don't think there's ever been a year where we have not grown in our 25-year history. And there's been hard markets and soft markets and, chaos and everything, but you just find a way to get the job done. And so the way we look at it is, why would we use a tool like AI to only help us be more efficient? Why would we not use it as a tool to help us also grow, right? And think forward and think about where we're going in the future. And, I'm reading a book right now on Starbucks and how they were founded. And it's funny because if you look at some of these great organizations, now organizations that are great, they have offices all over the country. The one thing that most of them have in common is one at a time. So when you think about our strategy in the future, and again, AI is a tool within this, just like our AMS is and our CRM, we were looking to add one good person and one good office at a time. And if we take that strategy and we pair it with the efficiencies of technology, with the efficiencies of great processes, with the strategy and the philosophy of a client first mindset, like, why would we not grow if we take that approach?
Yeah. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Really do appreciate just you and your just pureness to the insurance industry. I'm 47, but I remember when I was your age. God, I sound like an old guy now. I literally sound like that guy, and you're gonna laugh one day when you're saying this, but it really does. Your vigor, your understanding of what's going on. I think your organization is very lucky to have you, Jackson. And obviously it's come from you having fantastic parents and being around a bunch of great people. And you guys, if I'm correct, hold on, I forgot to ask you this. What town are you in Texas?
Yeah. So we're in College Station, so Texas A&M.
College Station. Okay. All right. Wow. I did. Whoa. Okay. That was crazy. That's wild. It's a good thing. It's just I was not picturing a College Station. I did not remember seeing that. I just remember seeing Texas. Well, that's really great, dude. Anything wrapping up that you would like to tell the Rough Note listeners?
Yeah, I would just, first of all, thank you to Rough Notes for this opportunity. Like I said, to create that special moment where I was able to tell my dad, and, I'm sure my team, as they're able to see this, like it's just 25 years worth of hard work. And, it's something you want to smile about, enjoy in the moment, and then push forward, right? What's next? How do we keep getting better? Because that's the idea. But, the idea to the listeners is we're in a great industry. We can put our clients first, and at the end of the day, there are bad days, right? We work in a bad day industry with claims and the things we have to deal with. Take a positive mindset. Look forward to the future. One of our Rollo rules, which are our core values, we have 12 of them. One of my favorites is don't be the problem, fix the problem, right? And it's that glass half full mindset. How can we become better as an organization tomorrow than we are today? That's always our focus.
Man. Love it, Jackson. Love it. Love it. Rough Notes listeners, I hope this is a treat, right? This is the beauty of taking the paper to the digital stream, because you can listen, you can read the magazine. It's going to be fantastic, but to hear it out of Jackson and to hear it out to all the people who come on here, but it's fantastic, Jackson. I was excited when you told me you were 28. You could have told me 38. I'd still thought the industry was in great hands, but I know it's still in really good hands. And I got to tell you, there's a bunch of young talent in this industry. People just don't realize it because we stay in our own little agency and we live in our own little world, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're busy. We're building an empire, our own little business here. But being out there in the world, you'd be surprised. There are a bunch of Jackson Rollos out there. And Jackson, we do greatly appreciate you taking your time to spill your knowledge with us. And congratulations to your agency. You definitely deserve to be on the front cover. You knew it before you were even on the front cover. It's just cool to finally be recognized for it, and to your team too. We didn't talk enough about them because yes, you did, because culture was something we talked about, but we didn't talk because Jackson, I know that you're the kind of guy that you understand that. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want at the executive level, but if you don't have good people doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's pointless, and then to lead 275-ish, how many ever there are at this time, whenever people are hearing that. Yeah, man. Good for you. Good for you. Good for Jason. Thank you very much. And also what you guys do for your community. I mean, it's cool to try to create a business that people don't drive by and go, yeah, my grandpa used to go there when he was younger, actually have a business. They say, hey, I know what goes on in there. That's actually a pretty great place to work. That's what our industry needs. That's how we keep finding the Jackson Rollos out there. So keep going. Thank you very much. Rough Notes listeners, I do what I do because I do it for you. And I am going to tell you once again, Rough Notes, thanks for giving us this opportunity so that we can represent and show people just like Rollo Insurance for the front cover. I'm Jason Cass. He's Jackson Rollo, and we are